What's going on? It's your boy Adam. I had to restart this video segment because 10 seconds in I was swearing. I'm having a real hard time. In fact, you know what? We're not gonna talk about this subject for the next minute and the next minute and 40 seconds. Because for the first 2 minutes of a YouTube video, you really can't swear if you want to be monetized. But it's after 10 o'clock. Got my hair cut today. It helped. That helped a lot with my stress went down immediately just getting my hair. Just like the temperature of my head, because I'm hot-headed. I have a hot head. So to lower the temperature of my head by 20 degrees or 10, 20 degrees, whatever it is, it's like beaver fur on the top of my head here. It's like, which is considered the most insulative of all animal furs that there are. It's like a beaver pelt on my head, and it once it gets past due for a haircut, it's miserable to feel that. But it's also miserable. It's not 2 minutes yet, but it's also miserable to not have a shower that works. It's really miserable to have a shower that hasn't worked since. It's really miserable when you haven't taken a proper shower since January. But don't worry, I've got some things in the works here. We're after 2 minutes, so I can say that this guy, he acts like he's a big Trump supporter. That was a selling point when I moved in here. When he asked me if I was a Trump supporter, got the fist bump. He's like, you're welcome here. We got no problems with another Trump supporter in the house. Well, there's a phrase called "fuck around and find out." Done fucked around, gonna find out. This shit is pissing me off. It's all I can talk about. But let's see. I don't even remember what I wanted to talk about that I had to wait 2 minutes for. Now I remember. I did get a comment on a video today. It's too much. This is too much. Somebody left me a comment. I don't know the exact words. I'm not going to go over and pull it up and read it word for word, but it basically said, you need to stop swearing so much because my kids are around when I'm listening to your videos. What the fuck problem of that? How is that my fucking problem? You're the one watching YouTube videos full of swear words when your kids are around. Do the creators of South Park on Comedy Central need to shut down their operation because your kids were sitting around when you watched the show on Comedy Central? How about turn the fucking channel when the kids are around and watch that shit when your kids go to bed? I don't know. There's a thought. There's an idea. Do we have to ban rated R movies because your kids might be in the movie theater when the movie's playing? How about don't take your fucking kids to a rated R movie where people say fuck and shit and piss and cunt and queef and pecker and dick and douchebag and cocksucker and motherfucker and all kinds of things like that. They show titties. Sometimes they even show dick in rated R movies now. Are you going to tell them not to make rated R movies anymore because your kids might go to the movie theater with you and watch them? How about leave the kids at home? How about change the fucking channel. How about you can choose what you listen to and what you don't listen to when your kids are around? I don't, when I have to upload my video to YouTube, it asks me straight up, is this content for kids? I'm like, fuck no, it's not. So my content is rated mature. It's not for kids. If it was for kids, I wouldn't be able to say all these things. My shit would get deleted. My channel would be shut down. So if I have the ability to knowingly check the box that says, no, my content is not for children, when I upload a video to YouTube, then how are you as a parent not a good enough parent to, not expose your kids to foul language? Watch something else. Watch some fucking cartoons. I don't know, man. What the fuck? So anyway, that shit cracked me up, though. That shit cracked me the fuck up. That's for sure. I needed a good laugh today, though, so thanks. That shit made me laugh pretty hard, to be honest. And it was good. I needed a good laugh because it has not been a good couple of weeks here. The tiny house has turned into a giant nightmare. And I'm just scrambling to figure it out. So what did I do today after, this morning was rough with all the noise. I kind of listened to the videos that I shot this morning of all the crazy noise going on outside. And now, granted, I was listening to it with regular computer speakers. I know that when I use a Bluetooth speaker, I hear the background noises a lot more clearly than I do when I'm listening on a standard speaker on the MacBook. Just the built-in speakers. They're decent for, computer built-in speakers. They're just not, there's no bass. So, but when I listen to it on a speaker that has a better fidelity, I have a bunch of Bluetooth speakers. They all ended up in my possession somehow. They all survived the FBI raid. And so pretty much every Bluetooth speaker I own is in this tiny little apartment. I have one up that I'm not even using. But when I use one and I listen to a video that I'm not watching or listening to every single video I post. But sometimes I skim through them just to pull a title. I don't know what the title of the video is going to be sometimes until I poke around and say, oh, that makes a good title. And so this morning was a bust all the way up until noon. I just said, fuck it. Yeah, I said, fuck it. Make sure you put the earmuffs on the kids. I said, fuck it. I got up, I left the house, went over and got my hair haircut. And even the girl cutting my hair was like, what's going on with you? She could tell I'm a fucking space cadet. Everybody who sees me right now is like, what the fuck's going on with you? They know something's wrong. Because I can't even hide it. I'm just burned. I'm stressed right the fuck out right now. That's what not having a shower since January will fucking do that to you. A proper shower, I should say. I just had a thought. I wish I could tell you everything that's going on. But I gotta keep some things under wraps until it's ready to come out. And but I was a good boy. I didn't stop and get any garbage food on the way home. I ate garbage food after I got home. I actually had some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for lunch because it was fast and easy. kept me from doing something stupid for lunch. Something worse than that. But I did have chili dogs for dinner a little while ago, so ain't my, it's about all I got in me. I got energy enough to, this place is so fucked up. I could have done 6 months of this if it wasn't for this fucking scumbag fucking with me. Fuck around and find out. Fuck around and find out. I'm like mesmerized by my screensaver right now. It's catching my gaze. I'm exporting a video. I'm just chilling. I don't even see myself exporting another one. It just had enough energy to squeeze in an extra half hour at the computer. Now I'm gonna go, after I'm done talking to you folks, I'm gonna go lay down and I'm done for the night. But I did get billable hours in, which is nice. And I actually got a lot done. I accomplished, once I finally got started, I forced myself to do it. I said to myself, work for an hour, take half an hour off. Before I knew it, I'd worked like 2.5, 3 hours. Didn't even realize the time went by. I enjoy what I do. At the bakery, 5 hours goes by and I look at the clock and it's only been 15 minutes. When I'm doing my website design and coding and all that kind of stuff, feels like half an hour went by and 4 hours passed. Whoa. It's a totally different experience. Because if you enjoy what you're doing, the time goes by quick. And so it's one of those things. I had a bunch of things I wanted to try and figure out today, having to do with embedding videos in a WordPress website on the pages, but having full control over what the whole thing looks like. So when you embed a YouTube video on a web page using the embed code that they give you, it kind of looks shitty because it's got a title in the top left corner, it's got some YouTube logos thrown in, and it's got a big play button in the middle, but it's the YouTube logo as a play button, and it's got some other crap. And so, like, it looks completely shitty because the video is going to have a thumbnail image, and all the YouTube branding and graphics and all that bullshit just cover up. You can't read the text on the thumbnail image, you can't read the title. It's a user experience shit show. And so, yeah, I can just embed the videos on this page. But there used to be some options to tweak the way that the YouTube's player looks when you embed it on a page. They took that all away because, they're just a big, bad piece of shit Big Brother company that wants you to do everything their way and don't. They took away all your customization options back in the day. And now, so I came up with a way to do it where I have a custom image in place of the video. And when you click on that image, it swaps very quickly to the YouTube video. But now, that was working for a minute, and I don't know why it stopped working, but basically, YouTube has made it so videos can't automatically play when they load on the page. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because, how many people hate when you go to a page and the video automatically starts playing? But the problem with this situation is when you go to a YouTube video and you paste a YouTube video and you go to the app or to the YouTube website to a specific URL, the video automatically starts playing. In fact, I had to install browser plugins. Ooh. I gotta check that out. Anyway, I think I may have solved my own problem. I may have to double check something tomorrow. But I could even do it on my phone. But anyway, YouTube does not want to let your embedded video on a page automatically play. And so it's kind of getting goofy in terms of how everything's like a fight. When you write code, everything's just a hack job and a fight against 10 other companies, and you're just fighting against, it's like you're swimming upstream all the time. And so I got pretty far. I took a number of breaks today, but I would accomplish something, I'd walk away from it, I'd come back, I'd get another step done, I'd walk away, I'd come back. Did that throughout the day all the way up until about 9 o'clock tonight. And so I got a lot of hours in, and I got a lot done for those hours. I want to get to a point where I've got a video I want to share with you all. And I want to get to where it's on his website first. But it's just, I'm figuring out some of this technical difficulty shit. And it's something that once I figure out how I want to do it, this is a repeatable process. Boom, 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 boom. I can just knock them out left and right. But it's kind of like, I don't want to do just the standard drop a YouTube video on a page and let it look however it looks approach. Because in this particular instance, it's not going to look good. And it needs, I mean, if it comes down to it, I may just, well, I already have a better solution, so I don't need to do that. But there's a missing link where you click on the image that's supposed to swap the video and swap the image with a video and make the video just start playing. And it's the automatic just start playing the video that doesn't work. The video just, you have to click the play button on the video. So it's basically the visitor to the website will have to click the thing twice, and it seems stupid. Because they're going to expect the video to play when they click the image, and then they're going to see the video there, and it's not, and they're going to have to click the play button again, and they're going to be like, what the fuck's going on? And it's not a big deal, but it's a big enough deal that I'm going to put in some time to try and figure out how to fix it, and I have a potential solution, but it was complicated, and I'm like, I ain't got time for this tonight. I'm too dead. This is like first of the morning kind of thing when you wake up and you're fresh and you can think like your geek mind is in full effect. That morning is the time to knock this one out, because there's a number of things I have to do. But that's what it is when you're a programmer. See, I'm a designer and a programmer. They're two different worlds. Programming, you could literally spend, a programmer can spend an entire day to write one line of code. And people will be like, well, it's just because he's a shitty No, it's not because he's a shitty programmer. It's because you're trying to debug something. There's a bug. Something's not working. You really don't know why it's not working. So there's a whole process you have to go through just to figure out what's causing this to not work in the first place. And sometimes it's a process of elimination. It's a process of testing things out, guesswork. Hey, how about we remove this code? Does it still break? If we, there's debugging tools. There's error messages that are hidden from you. All of your web browsers have what's called a console log. So, and you can access it by right-clicking in your web browser, and you can go down to a thing called inspect, and then it brings up another window called the inspector, and then inside that inspector window there's a tab called the console tab. And then so a lot of times errors will show up in that console and will tell you things like, if it's a JavaScript error, it'll tell you, generally speaking, it may not tell you exactly what's wrong, but it'll point you in the right direction. And so it's just, I can't tell you the number of times I've spent an entire day just to write one line of code, or another programmer that I know spends an entire day, sometimes a week, just to figure out one line of code that was fucking something up or that didn't work right or you had to rework or whatever. But it's not. The thing is, it's like when you look at the solution, if there's an open ticket in a system and the solution ends up being one line of code, but the ticket's going to show that someone spent, 16 to 20 hours on it. Some dingbat product manager or project manager might call that programmer and, try to throw them under the bus. And it's like, you can't look at it as it. You can't look at it like it took you 16 hours to write one line of code. No, you dumb motherfucker. It took about 15 hours to figure out what was wrong and what line of code needed to be changed or added. And then it took about 5 minutes to write the line of code, if that, maybe 30 seconds. Maybe it had to be rewritten a few times and refreshed before the thing would even work. Maybe I had to try a few variations of it. And then it had to be tested for about half hour, 45 minutes to make sure the thing's going to fucking work. And open up 6 different web browsers, open up a mobile device and a web browser. And so you can't judge the work by the lines of code. And a lot of times when I'm building a website, I've built one already, and I'm about ready to dig deep and start building another one. Like, I've got a design pretty much hashed out, but I need to write code to build it. I could sit there and spend 2 days to make one web page from top to bottom, with the navigation bar and all the different things it has to do, the next thing, the logo, all the content on the page, so that it looks good on a laptop computer, a desktop computer, and a phone. And I have to keep testing it in every web browser under the sun. And oh shit, there's a bug there in Firefox, but it's not in Chrome. Why is it broken in Firefox? And all that kind of shit. And why don't these things line up right? And why do these icons look too big? And all these things. And you just block by block by block, line by line by line, all the way down the page till you get to the footer. But it's the kind of process where if you're building a big website with, like, I'm doing a restaurant website, there's a menu. The menu page, so I'm going to start with the most complicated menu page, which is, it's going to have multiple pages because they have so much stuff on the menu that it needs to be split out in multiple pages. There's an entrees page, and it's going to have a lot of items, and it's going to be a fairly big page. The kids menu is like 5 things. I might even combine pages together. I don't know, but for now, I'm just going to make each section of the menu its own page. Some are going to be longer than others. But the entrees, the dinner menu, is going to it might take 1 to 2 days to build it. I have it designed, and it's tight. The design looks good. It might take 1 to 2 days to build this thing out and make it work and test it in every web browser. Once I know it works, it might take 2 to 3 hours to make all the rest of the menu pages based on that first one. The first one might take 2 days. The next one might take 5 minutes. Might take 20 minutes for the rest of them. Each one 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes. Until all, I don't remember, let's say there's 6 of them. I don't remember. 8, there might be 8. I think there's 8 pages. Sounds about right. I'm trying to picture, there's 6 or 8. It's an even number, I know that. So the first one could take 1 to 2 days, easily, just with wrestling with code and hit and refresh. Wrestle with the code again, hit refresh, write some more code, hit refresh, change this. Why isn't this work? Refresh. How about this? Refresh the page. How about this? Refresh the page. And actually it's refresh, it's try this line of code, hit save, refresh the page. Tweak that line of code, hit save, refresh the page over and over and over. I could be doing that for 2 days straight, taking screenshots, making sure things line up, measuring things, checking it again, checking it again, checking it again, all that kind of stuff, just to build one page. But when I've got 5 other pages that are based on the same template as that first page, all of those, as long as I follow the same format, those should have absolutely no issues when I build them. They should just work out of the box. There might be something to tweak here and there, but so it's kind of like the first off of something you build. Once you build a clone of that, it gets easier and easier and easier. The first web page of a site, where you have everything from the nav bar at the top, the logo, all the stuff up there, and then all the stuff going all the way down the page until you get to the footer and all the stuff in the footer. You're building all that stuff and styling all that stuff for the first time, top to bottom. But then every subsequent page only has the stuff in the middle, the nav bar, the logo, the branding, the stuff at the top, the masthead, all those things are on every page. Let's just say it's a design where all that stuff's on every page. And now you're just dealing with the stuff in the middle. And then, like, let's say you're building a software application and you have forms, tables, and text-based layouts. First time you build a table-based layout, and you have to do everything from the filters at the top, like your sorting options, your filtering options, and all that kind of stuff. You have to design what the table itself looks like and test it and retest it and go through this whole thing. Well, what if you've got 20 other templates, page types in this application that are based on a filter at the top of the page with a table that displays the results underneath? Now all of a sudden you don't have to deal with what's the word I'm looking for. You don't have to rebuild all that stuff over and over and over again. Once you get one that works really good, the rest of them should just be a more or less a clone of that first one. There may be some situations where each thing has its own unique spin on it, and you might have to tweak things on an individual basis for one reason or another, but once you build the first one, the next one's easier and easier and easier. So it's just like, that's kind of what I'm doing right now with today's work, was trying to, I put a hello world page together so I could embed a bunch of video files from YouTube and then just try different things out. And I've got something that's acceptable, and I thought it was working, but then I went back to it later and it wasn't working, and I'm like, I don't even know why it worked and then stopped working. But I reminded myself that I do have a browser plugin that forces YouTube videos not to automatically play. Because I can't stand when I go to YouTube and videos automatically play on their own site. I want to explicitly hit the play button. And so that browser plugin could be the reason why the thing's not working the way I want. It could be that simple. But that gives me kind of an incentive to see if I can come up with a way that dances around the browser plugin and still allows this to do what I want to do. Because then I know that not only my solution will work for pretty much everybody out there, but even for the people who have that browser plugin installed. And the way that I'm putting these videos on the page, if the viewer clicks the thumbnail image to play the video, they're going to expect the video to play. So it's not like I'm ripping the rug out from under them and forcing a video to automatically play when they didn't want it to play. That's the kicker. But it's a lot of just, there's 50 different ways to do anything. And I was trying to find the simplest answer, and I got almost there. But now my answer, my possible solution, it might not even work. I might spend an hour tomorrow putting together this solution. I've got to install a WordPress plugin to do it. I've got to do all this dumbass shit to make it, to even try to do it. But it'll be beneficial down the road to have this plugin installed, so I'm not gonna poo-poo on it. I'm just gonna do it. But it's just extra work before I install the plugin. I was like, oh crap, they just updated WordPress. I've got to make backups of this site, update WordPress. Every time you log into a WordPress website that you maintain, and I mean every single time, like even if you log in every single day, you're gonna see a page that says, oh, 8 plugins just received an update yesterday. Do you want to update them? And you have to be like, no, because in order to update them correctly, you need to back everything up first. Because WordPress is just notorious for wanting to automatically automatically want to update all your stuff all the time, and you have to turn that shit off. Because when something breaks, it's extremely difficult to roll things back to the previous version unless you are meticulous about how you back things up and maintain your version history. So when I see that there's an update for a plugin, I have a process I follow. Before I hit the button to update that plugin, I make sure that everything is in place so that I can immediately undo what I just did if something goes haywire. Most of the time it doesn't. I'm going to say, like, I would literally say like 98 times out of 100, nothing goes wrong. But sometimes an updated plugin conflicts with something else, or there's an update somewhere that breaks something, and you don't have time to figure out what the hell went wrong. You just got to put the old one back in place for now and figure it out later. So if you hit that update button on the plugin and it updates and you didn't have a backup, you didn't have like the state of your current website in place as a backup, and there's 100 different ways to maintain these backups. I use multiple backup systems. I use 1, 2, 3, 4 different ways of backing things up, and I go, especially if I do a WordPress update, I update the database 2 different ways, then I do a full backup of the site using a backup plugin, and then I use a Git repository to download all of the site files and store anything that was changed from the previous version as a new version. And then I put that in a remote repository up on another platform, not GitHub, but something else. And then I have 10 different ways to fix something if it breaks. And believe me, if it breaks and you didn't do that, I know people who have broken things and couldn't get their site back because all you would have had to do is, before you start tinkering and pushing buttons and hitting update, make a backup. Back up your database, back up your files. Make sure that you can go back to that old version of. It's very easy. It's literally, if your new plugin fails and breaks something, you just go into your backup, you find the folder where all the plugins are stored. Each plugin has its own folder. You just go back to the previous version of your site. I can find the folder with the old plugin, the previous version, and then I can drag and drop that folder into my web server through an FTP client or an SFTP client or SCP, or there's multiple ways to copy a folder over, and I just manually replace the folder that's there with the older version of that folder, and it'll automatically go back to the old version of the plugin. It's that simple. It's a drag and drop thing. If you did your backup, if you did everything meticulously, it should take you like a minute to fix it, to go back to the old version if something breaks. But a lot of people who get into doing like WordPress sites, they don't look under the hood. So they don't, it's like having a car, but you have absolutely no idea what's going on under the hood. It's like a girl who takes her car to the mechanic and they tell her that she needs to have her blinker fluid changed, and she goes, okay, how much does that cost? Right? So there's a lot of people that get into building WordPress sites, but they don't know what's under the hood and they don't know how to tinker with it. They don't know how it all works. They just know that they can log in to an admin panel through a web browser and maintain and do things. But on the flip side, there's a whole bunch of code. And if you don't know how any of that code works or how the files are arranged and how the whole thing works, you don't have the power to really work on and maintain that shit. Because if something breaks that can't be fixed in the web browser interface and you actually have to go into the files themselves to fix it, that's where a lot of I'm talking specifically about a lot of graphic designers who get into building WordPress sites for clients, but then something breaks and they can't figure out how to fix it because they don't know how to dig under the hood and find and work with the files themselves. The actual code files are basically just text files. It's no different than a Microsoft Word document, really. It's just formatted a certain way. And there's different languages, and there's HTML, PHP, JavaScript, and CSS, and sometimes variants of CSS like Sass or Less or different things like that. But those are the pretty much. If you know all that stuff, you can dig into those files. And there's a certain way that they have to be structured, organized, named, and everything else like that. And as long as you follow the rules, it's actually pretty easy to work on this stuff from the other side of the fence. But it's daunting for someone who's never done it before or who doesn't have a lot of it. You know, I remember the first time I started poking around, I was like, whoa, what's going on in here? But then once you start to learn it, you're like, oh, this all makes sense, actually. And it's not as complicated as it sounds. And the thing about WordPress is there's documentation upon documentation. I know a lot of you hate me for using AI, but I was using Grok today to help me with WordPress. When I was tinkering around with some code and it didn't work, I was like, you know what? Let me try this. I copied and pasted a block of code into Grok, and I said, why doesn't this work? And Grok turned around and told me why it didn't work. It was ampersand instead of I had a question mark instead of an ampersand in a line of code, and Grok was like, there you go, that's why it didn't work, asshole. I'm like, no shit. All right, cool, thank you. It would have taken me a long time to figure that out on my own. Took 10 seconds with AI. Grok even wrote me some code to try for gave me some alternative solutions. Because I kind of knew what I was going to have to do next, and I was kind of like, I just didn't want to do it because I'm burned out for the day, and I didn't want to sit here and tinker around with complicated things. I'm like, this is for tomorrow. But Grok actually spit out a whole bunch of JavaScript as like a starter kit for me. I should be able to copy and paste what it wrote into a code block, but I need to get it's hard to explain how WordPress works, but I need to install a plugin in order to drop this code snippet into the middle of a page. But if it works, I will be able to make a better version of this than what Grok gave me. But it's nice to just be able to copy and I was looking at the code. I'm like, yeah, this should work. And if it does, I can tinker it, I can tweak it, and I can implement it better my own way without having to write the thing from scratch. So if it works, great, it's going to be awesome. But I don't have I can't do it tonight. It's too complicated for me at 10 o'clock at night when I'm burned out after all I've been through in the last few weeks. Tomorrow morning, though, the nice thing about it is I've got something to actually like sink my teeth into that will motivate me to get an earlier start in the day. And so it's kind of like that's one piece of advice I've given more than once is when you get into the state of mind I've been in lately, just do something. Get up and do something. Like even if like 2 days ago, no, yesterday, the only thing I could do was work for half an hour and take a 15-minute break, work for another half hour, take a 15-minute break, and I just kept doing that over and over again. And I got stuff done, but it wasn't great. But at the end of the day, I felt better than I did in the morning. And today I basically took the same approach once I was able to get started and get going. But I worked longer and took short, and my breaks were 15 minutes, maybe a half hour. And for my breaks, I'm not just sitting on my ass, I'm doing dishes, I'm getting caught up on chores. This fucking tiny house nightmare I'm having a harder time keeping this place clean right now than I used to have keeping my whole house clean because of this bullshit with this fucking guy. Like, imagine trying to get your dishes done and you don't even have hot water. And you gotta wash all your fucking dishes in this tiny little prison sink. A tiny little bathroom sink. You don't even have a real sink to do dishes in. Like, it's fucking crazy. I can't do this. So, this isn't going to last much. This isn't going to last. But financially speaking, it's like one train wreck after the next, after the next, after the next, and I can't even get on my fucking feet, let alone try to find a car. I was thinking about starting to look for a car. On April 1st, I was like, you could start looking for a car. Maybe you could work it in. April 3rd, fuck that. Now you gotta get ready to go to battle against this fucking dick sucker who, oh my God, I can't even, the hatred I have towards this motherfucker is just off the chain now. Oh my God, there's so much I want to say. You know me, I love to tell a story, and this is gonna be a good one when it's over. But honestly, the best thing I can do right now is, it's a good thing that I live. Everything in this place can fit in the boxes I already have. Like, everything in this whole place is modular. My desk folds into nothing. Like, it all fit, everything in here just about fit in a minivan in one trip. After that trip, I bought a few things. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'm looking at like 3 things with a minivan. If I had to rent a minivan to move all this stuff again, I would have to make 2 trips with a minivan. But if I used a U-Haul cargo van, which is bigger than a minivan, it would be 1 trip. And I wouldn't need a box truck. That would be overkill. the U-Haul cargo van, the van, would be all I need. And it would only take one trip. I'm pretty sure. The bicycles are kind of a wild card on that, but I remember how much stuff I could fit in a cargo van versus the minivan. And it's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. So, and that's the smallest cargo van. That's like the $20 a day cargo van that they have at U-Haul, but they charge you 50 cents a mile to drive it. So that $20 turns into like 100 to 150 bucks in the blink of an eye. But even so, it's I know I could move everything I own here in one shot, and it would only take, if I can get my best friend to come over and help and I get everything packed in advance like the day before, it would take about a half hour to an hour at the most, probably half hour, to get everything packed and out the door. So if it comes down to that, it can happen fast. Like I can pack. It's still a pain in the ass. It's a lot of work, but I might have to go. I might have to go to Home Depot and get a couple of storage totes or something. Like, I don't know. There maybe like 2 storage totes in addition to, or just get them on Amazon, so I don't have to, because it's hard to carry that stuff on a bicycle. But I could probably get Amazon. That way there's no like, yeah, that would be the best way actually to do it, probably. I'll have to look at the prices, but um it doesn't take much. It wouldn't take much. It would take longer to pack than it would to get it out and set up somewhere else. It's kind of like a glorified campsite I got going on here. Everything, it's a little bit more complicated than a glamping campsite that I would set up. Like a 10-day campsite. If I'm taking and setting up a 10-day campsite and you've got like a girlfriend with you and your kid or kids, and you're trying to make it comfortable and fun and trying to have the comforts at home and all that kind of stuff, that's a different kind of campsite than when you're backpacking in the wilderness with a 50-pound backpack on your back. Like, that's a totally different camp. But a glamping campsite with a full kitchen and a big giant, 2-bedroom tent with, you know, multiple easy up canopies and like just a full on like camp village takes about 2 hours, maybe 3 hours to set up, and takes about the same amount of time. Well, anywhere from 1 to 2 hours to set up completely, and anywhere from like 2 to 4 hours to pack down and put back in the vehicle before you go home. This is a little more complicated than a glamping campsite, but not by much. It's closer to a glamping campsite than it is to an apartment in terms of modularity and how easy it would be to just tear it down and set it up again. So I did that on purpose. I was I remember picking and choosing things to move down here to Houston with that would store in a small space but open up into like it actually, like when you see how little space all of this stuff took, because all these tables, the cot that I sleep on, the desk that my computer's on, the camp kitchen drawers over there, the table here, this chair that I'm sitting in, all of this stuff folds down really compact. Even the wire shelving unit over there that's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shelves that I got from Target my first day here, All I need is a hammer, and I can pop all those shelves off and unscrew all the poles for the corners, and that thing takes up a tiny little space. So, and I would, I wouldn't want to do that if I didn't have to. But if I had to, I could do it in 5 minutes and set it back up again. Um, so, all that was on purpose. Um, if I find a place that is livable and has space, and I can get myself a car, now we're talking. Now I can get a real bed, real furniture, a couch, that kind of stuff. Now we're into like, okay, now you need a box truck. Now you need a couple friends. Like, I can't even buy stuff like that if I don't have any friends. Because how do I move it when it's time to move if I don't know anybody? So I always got to, I got one friend. He could help. That might not be enough if I get into a real place to live. Um, I guess I could go to the Home Depot parking lot and pick up some people and bring them over, and but I don't speak Spanish, so how am I going to tell them what to do? I don't. Google Translate's not that good. Um, well, there are probably ways to take care of that too. So anyway, um, that's what's going on today, and as of now, it's time to wrap up and go to sleep. Peace out.